So the time has come to say goodbye to the MC20. So what do I think to the car? What's it been like to own this car? I've had it nearly 8 months now, done a couple of thousand miles in it. I have to say at the beginning, I wasn't 100% convinced by the car, but I think that's got something to do with the fact that I got the car in December. It was actually snowing on the day I picked this car up, so the weather's got better, I've got used to the car, and to be honest with you, I really have enjoyed this car. It's an endearing car. It's funny. It's a bit like chatting to a guy in the pub who's like really loud and funny, and they're really entertaining for about 10 minutes, but afterwards they get a bit boring, whereas sometimes the quieter people, a bit more intelligent, a bit more thought out, actually you can spend a bit of time with those people. And this is this car. It's endearing. It takes time to get to know it. And you know, Maseratis of old, they were shouty and noisy but didn't have much substance. It's a proper supercar with that carbon tub. It's amazing. So what do I like about it? Well, the performance, first of all. I mean, 630 brake horsepower, but I think the big key to this car is its weight. I keep going on about it to anyone that asks me, but this car weighs under 1,500 kilos, which means it weighs as much as a GT3. Now, they haven't designed this car to be lightweight, shouty track car, but it's an everyday GT car that weighs as much as a GT3 with 630 brake horsepower, and that's the key to it. It's light and it's nimble, it's carbon tubbed, and it's a GT car. So when you're not wanting to be loud and shouty, it's fantastic. Just driving it up and down motorways, when you're on country lanes and you're not necessarily wanting to go fast everywhere, it's got the depth of ability to allow you to do that. But then when you do put it into Corsa and you do want to drive it fast, the brakes are phenomenal, the power delivery is phenomenal. I've talked about it in more detail. That engine, even though it could just do with a tiny bit more character in terms of the noise, which I'll come on to, the throttle response from that engine is like no other car I've driven. So I've talked about that before, but they're the things I like about it. I love the way it looks. This car has got so much good attention. It's about the only car I've ever had where I've had so many respectful comments from it. Maybe because people haven't seen it, maybe it's Italian, maybe it's just called a Maserati. I mean, it's just cool, isn't it? Maserati just sounds cool. What else do I like about it? I like the ergonomics of the car. It's very simple inside that car. Everything you need is there, and there's nothing else there but that. Dislikes, it could do with a bigger fuel tank. Unfortunately, it's not got a big tank at all, so you do have to fill it up quite a lot. Although it's economical, it's just not got a big enough tank. Boot space in the front, it's pretty useless, to be honest. There's nothing in there. In the back, you can put some overnight bags in the back, but it does get very hot from the engine, so you know, if you pop to Morrison's and get your ice creams in the back, they don't last very long, I'm afraid. So what else would I change about the car? Well, I did say I like the ergonomics, but the only one thing with the ergonomics, with the central touchscreen, if you try and change the heating controls when you're on a bumpy road, you try and actually get the heating controls right. I go from 16 to 30 like in a nanosecond. So I would change that, make it easier. And the only other thing I would change, I would like to change the noise. Now, I have got to get to like this car, and I think we're all going to have to get used to the fact that modern supercars, unfortunately, aren't going to sound like the old screaming naturally aspirated V12s. But I would just like it. It is a supercar. I'd like to press that start button on a morning. It just, I don't know, just give me some fizz. It doesn't. But as you get to know this car and you get to drive this car, actually, the startup noise maybe could do with a bit more, but actually you get the turbo fizz and the hiss and the bang, and it's a different noise, and it's an interesting noise. So, because a lot of cars with V8s, they're all the pop and the bang, but actually some of it's synthesized now in the car, whereas actually hearing that turbo going psh, 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 it's quite exciting. So overall, this has been great. I've loved it. I think it's underrated. I think more people need to drive this car to understand it, and I think if they do, I think they'll like it. So Maserati, it's been a pleasure. Now I'm on to the next thing. That will come out soon, so this is only making way for something even more interesting, even more special. So watch this space and I'll let you know as it arrives.